And the count. And Jack and Eric, live and in your face. Whether you want us to be in your face or not, we're all up in your face.
Is our acronym TBAB?
TBAB.
Or just TBIB?
Or do we just go TBB? The
TBB.
That's a
Yeah,
good
we
one.
never circled back on a name.
Yeah, it just kind of stayed this. So if you have a name suggestion out there in the universe, have at it. I'm sure it'll
Send
be
it.
just yeah.
Send it our way.
Yeah. Whatever you got, let's roll with it. So, how are you today,
I found this shirt in the bottom of my drawer this morning.
San Francisco CrossFit?
Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, that's right. Did they? I forget. Did they just shut it down, or did they sell it? Do you know?
I think he just shut it down. He just couldn't afford. They couldn't afford the rent after, or when COVID, right? Like everything kind of. I don't know. Kelly stopped returning my phone calls, so
yeah. I'll say the Ready State's gotten pretty big anyway, so it's that became I think that became a good little like replacement income for them.
Yeah, and he's doing that partnership with Mayhem too.
Yeah, he's doing a few things. I think he's partnered up with a few people doing this thing. That's cool. Yeah, you said you went there before. You've been there. Like that's where you got the shirt.
Yes, I actually bought it from Juliet in their Connex box. That was also her office.
Nice.
So the layout was you would pull into this parking lot of like it was like a 24-hour fitness, but not like a chain. So like a big gym, but it was like kind of like an athletic facility. And they were in this like corner of the parking lot. But they had Carl Pally had convinced them to let him hang ropes off of the like girders coming off of the building, which was kind of interesting. But you could see the Golden Gate Bridge, and you could, I think, I remember, I might be confusing. We might have gotten back in the van and then drove to a park where you could see the Golden Gate Bridge, but I can't remember exactly. But it was like by this highway and chain link fence, and they had like all this shit hanging from the chain link fence, and they had like 4 big canopies kind of all together, like bungeed together so they wouldn't fly away. And then
like how we had them.
Yeah. But it went during, yeah, exactly. And maybe that's where I got the idea. And then 2 Connex boxes. And so one Connex box had like all the gear, barbells, plates. They had some stuff left out. And then another Connex box was Juliet's office and like all their t-shirts and shorts and things that they would sell and stuff. And so, yeah, pulled up. It was a relatively nice day. We spent the whole morning with Carl Pally. And then we spent the whole afternoon, went to lunch, and then came back and spent the whole afternoon with, and it might have been reversed. We might have been K-Star first and then Carl second.
Cool.
Yeah, it was. That
was for an event. You weren't just.
It was totally. It was this company called WOD Tours that put together like the CrossFit, and I can't believe this hasn't taken off. Like it didn't become a thing because it's genius.
Yeah.
But yeah, we paid $2,000 maybe. It might have been like 2,000 or just under 2,000. You had to get your own airfare to get there. And he was Australian. The guy's name was Brad Woodhouse, and he contracted with the gyms, basically starting in San Francisco and working our way down the coast of California, and hit a handful of places.
Did you do a workout at the ranch, or was it at the ranch? What was it? Is that where you met Kalipa? Was it this?
We went to NorCal when he was it wasn't NorCal yet. It was still might have been CrossFit NorCal, but it was the CrossFit NorCal. Like, so he had 3 locations. He had Mountain View, something else, and then the original. So we did a workout at the original one, and then we also did a workout at his new one, which is now like in all the videos. It's like the marquee location, but it was this old shitty, again, like an old shitty health club that he had bought, or got a lease for. I don't know exactly, but like it was a mess. And so that one we did a workout with. So we did a workout in the morning with one of his coaches, who I can't remember the guy's name, but again, he's pretty involved in the NorCal fitness thing, or NC Fit thing. CrossFit NorCal became NC Fit. There we go. It was just running and like GHD sit-ups and something and whatever, and then drove to the new location. And that afternoon did a workout with Miranda, Brooke Entz, before she was Brooke Entz, Jason, Garrett Fisher, and what's his face, the bad boy of like early 2000s. What was his name? Or the early 2010s. It'll come to me. I can't think of it. But I beat all of them in. It was right. This is my claim to fame, that if all workouts had double unders, deadlifts, and burpees, I could go to the games.
You go to the games.
So it was a deadlift. It was double unders. It was like a double under, deadlift, burpee over the bar, buy-in. And then once you got through that, you went to ring muscle ups, into ring handstand push-ups, into heavy power cleans. And the power cleans were like 255 or 225 for the guys and like 155 for the women. So I crushed the first part. And other than Garrett Fisher, I was the first one to the ring muscle ups. And so I did my first ring muscle up, and I go into the handstand, and I almost totally like whipped over, but I held on. But I mean, so Khalifa was watching. I swear he must have been like, oh my God, because there's no mats underneath. Like there's no safety whatsoever.
Maybe that's why this thing hasn't taken off. We're never doing that.
No safety whatsoever. But I held on, I dropped. He goes, have you done freestanding or free handstand push-ups on rings? I'm like, hey, he goes, why don't you go over to the low rings? I was like, that's probably good. That's probably a good idea. Plus, also, I'm not going to be doing 225 or 255.
Yeah.
hang squat cleans or whatever the hell they had on the bar. So I linked up with Miranda, and Miranda and I did strict ring sort of things with like a weird dip out into a handstand push up ish, and then I did 135. Nice. Because she might have been injured, and so like she was doing single dumbbell cleans or whatever. I may have even switched to those. I don't remember. Yeah. But yeah, it was funny. But yeah, like contracted with all of these gyms down the coast. I mean, we hung out with Greg Amundsen for a day, hung out with Annie Sakamoto, hung out with Grundler at in San Luis Obispo at CrossFit Inferno. Mm-hmm. Then finished the trip down in San Diego at Invictus and with Mike Bergner, and then hit another CrossFit San Diego, hit that one. So it was all, I think you were on the hook for your own food. What you paid for was the transportation and the access to the gyms and the access to the coaches, to the owners.
Gotcha.
And I mean, it was. I think if you were able to put a trip together like that, even today, those named people would be like marquee people. And then I think he tried to do it for somewhere in the East Coast too. He was Australian. I think maybe the logistics of, he probably could have just moved back to Australia and did it in Australia. Like there's amazing, the Australians love this stuff more than we do.
Yeah.
More than Americans do. Like they would nerd out on it, and
yeah, they totally would.
Yeah. Plus,
So how many workouts did you do over how many days? So you went how many like were you in
I think it was like it was 5 days on the ground. Like we flew in on like maybe like on a Wednesday or a Thursday or something, and then so we were doing 2 to 3 workouts a day. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then woke up and flew home on like a Wednesday morning. But my days might be off. I don't remember if that's exactly how it went. But it was that. I mean, it ended up being somewhere between 12 to 15 workouts, because then there would be like, we went on a 5K trail run with Khalipa Garrett and Brooke Ensign Miranda, and then finished that with this like ridiculously heavy kettlebell hill sprint thing. And then with Greg Amundsen, we did this like, stair runs on the beach, but then like a beach workout and then an ocean swim. And then we went back to his gym that he was just opening that became CrossFit Amundsen.
Was there like a prerequisite level of fitness, or did you have did you just like take my money and like, was there any like we need a doctor's note or something like that?
Nope.
Yeah.
Maybe. This was 2012.
Yeah.
So I think it was one of those things where, right, CrossFit had really only kind of been in existence for 10 years. The games had only been going for 4, right? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The games hadn't happened yet. So there were 3 athletes there. 2 of them were legit like regionals level. Yeah. And then the third one, he was going to the games on a team that July, the end of that July or that August or whenever the games were happening in 12. So he actually was like also adding other stuff when he would go, and then he would work out with some of the folks at some of these gyms who were like at Invictus. He linked up with CJ and the team and stuff because they knew him. But then one of the girls who was on it, she eventually did end up going to regionals and then to the games on a team with an Australian team. I can't remember her name. And then the other guy was just, 20 something ridiculously fit. Then there was a guy who was more my age. Cause I was at 12. So 37, 38, something like that. However old I was, 35. So it was,
that's cool.
Yeah, no, you had to self-regulate. And if you got hurt, I'm sure they would have been screwed. I think there may have been a waiver, possibly, but like, you know how that goes. Are any of those things ever like?
Yeah.
Yeah. WOD tours. It was, it's a pretty, I mean, like I said, it's a pretty great idea.
There are people that would pay for that, but I have a feeling like, would you say you paid?
It was like 2,000. But I mean,
it
wasn't, dude, it wasn't, that's not that much for like, think about like a vacation to Paris or Europe or right. Yeah. Like, and you basically got to see the entire, I mean, we drove from San Francisco to San Diego with, stops along the way. And we didn't like rush the drives. Like we stopped at places. We stopped in Santa Cruz. Like we stopped, it's all basically a big chunk of San Francisco.
Yeah.
Stopped in Santa Cruz and stopped in San Luis Obispo, stopped in Santa Monica, stopped all throughout LA. We went to Brick. We did Brick CrossFit as well. So like there that got to see it wasn't Schmidt, because he wasn't, I don't think he was doing CrossFit maybe yet, but it was an actor like that. And then because there was a girl, she was blonde and she was an actress and a CrossFitter, like Maddie something or whatever. And do you remember Fitness Lonnie?
No.
Fitness Lonnie was like a funny kind of personality who used to have this like obsessive crush on Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet. But then he goes to Canada.
Like a Broflex thing?
But like pre that. And so, but he goes to Canada to like work out with her. But her and Lipson were dating. And so he walks in and Lipson comes out and like threatens to beat him up. And he's like, oh, I didn't know you were taken, whatever. And then he changes his obsession to this girl. I can't remember her name, but she was part like half the time, I think Brad Woodhouse was his name. He paid for access to one thing, but then because of the nature of CrossFitters and some of these gyms being kind of so marquee, like when we went to Invictus, Camille and Josh Bridges, Camille Blancpain and Josh Bridges were both there. Yeah. So we did the workout. We were coached by Corey Bergner, CJ, and then somebody else, China Cho. Right? Like, just like they were just happened to be coaching those classes, and the way Invictus was like 3 different classes going on. And then afterwards, we did one of CJ Martin's like tests, which is you do Fran, and you got to do it under 5 minutes. So you do Fran, and then you rest until the 5-minute mark, and then you have 5 minutes to set a heavy clean and jerk. And then he had like a scoring system that like for every second you were over 3 minutes, you had to subtract that from your load of the clean and jerk.
Was it over 5 minutes or 3 minutes? 5-minute Fran or 3 minutes?
3. No. You had to the 5-minute mark to do it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But for every second you were over 3 minutes, you have to subtract that from your clean and jerk score.
Gotcha.
And a good score is anything over 250.
Damn.
For guys.
Damn.
And I think it was anything over 155, 170 or something, 175 for women, something like that.
Damn.
And then he goes, I was like, so what? And maybe if it's anything under 3 minutes, for every second under 3 minutes, you get to add that to your clean and jerk score. And Bridges had like a 300 plus score. Cause I think he he could do it in like 2. He was there. He had a jumping accident and his knee was all effed up. So we just sort of, he's shorter than me. It's crazy. But his arms look like my legs. And then Camille Blancpain was there and she actually did it with the women. So anyway, like that's it, but they didn't pay them, right? Like I'm sure they didn't give them any revenue on
hanging out with or something. Yeah.
Right. For hanging out with us.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a really long.
That's cool. I knew you had been to those gyms. The WOD Tour thing is like rings a bell, but I don't remember that it was all this. It was this whole like thing you went on. So that was wild.
Yeah, I justified it. As like a because I hadn't started Blue and Gold yet. Blue and Gold started that fall in October of 12.
So you were still in Annapolis.
Right, I was at CrossFit Annapolis. I think I wrote a couple blog posts for Aaron while I was doing it. I'm not sure they ever posted though because of their website was a mess at the time. DRT didn't give a shit, and Aaron was just like, whatever. Send us some pictures. But I remember like justifying it in my head as like research, as a site survey, or sort of like when you would do before deployment or an exercise, you would go on, initial planning conference, mid planning conference, pre-deployment site survey, and then the actual like execution of the event. And so I considered this sort of my, fact finding, because every time I'd go to a gym, I would look, I'd be like, oh, look at that. How they have like, oh, that's an interesting place for a rig. Oh, look there, like that. Right. And so it like stole kind of all the ideas. Like Annie Sakamoto's gym was ridiculously small, but so perfectly laid out.
Made it work.
Yeah. She was running classes of like 25, 30 people.
Oh, jeez.
And I was like, how are you doing this? Like, this is ridiculous. And it was amazing. But at the same time, she had like a class of 3. And that was the same, like, it was the same structure, vibe, setup. Like, it was amazing. And she had like 5 or 6 athletes, coaches, clients from the original CrossFit.
Yeah.
And this one woman was like 82. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're like 50 something. And she's like, oh no, I knew Greg when he was riding bicycles to his gym and
He was babysitting Greg.
I kicked him out. They kicked him out of that judo studio so fast. Yeah, but when they shut that down, I came over here with Annie, and I was like, "Oh wow, yeah, it was awesome. It was cool."
That's cool. Well, cool. Well, speaking of other cool things, I'm gonna run. I need to get a tissue real quick, but real quick, hey, you should say hi to somebody who's a first-time viewer.
Yeah, look at
live in charge.
Hey, you know how to make it? You know how to make a tissue dance?
Put a little boogie in it.
Boom.
That's the thing. Before we get leaving with the kids, I'll say, "All right, guys, let's make like a tissue," and me and Everett will go in boogie. That's everything.
Oh, I thought it was make like a tree and get out of here.
Make like a tree and get out of here. Come back.
Oh, what do I do now? This is awkward. Don't really know. I can, yeah, just for the listening audience at home, I have zero access to anything. So if people are like commenting or making anything, I can't see it. He controls everything.
So. I'm in control of everything.
Yeah. I'm in control of my shirt falling down off of my chair, though.
Oh, what did I miss? There's a yay. We got a yay from Joan. A joke's question mark and stupid human tricks. What did I miss? Stupid human tricks?
No, I think she's probably suggesting something that I could have done while you were gone, but
is that
too late now.
Actually, what's even more fun? I can even do a. Watch this. Boom.
I don't know what that was.
Don't even worry about it. We'll see what happens. So anyway, how was your week, Jack? Now after the wonderful story of that amazing trip, I think we should just do one in the area. There's so many gyms. As I've learned, there are a lot of gyms in the area, more than I realized.
Oh, really? What brought that up?
So I was at the mastermind this weekend with Best
Hour.
Right.
That's what you should talk about.
Yeah, Best Hour. And there were four gyms from Maryland. So there's me, there's Ironclad CrossFit out in Easton, who I didn't realize was there. And I didn't even realize there was a gym in Easton. I think she's one of two boxes in Easton. And then I think the next closest one is CrossFit Kent Island. But yeah, so there's Ironclad CrossFit. There's Blue Crab CrossFit up near Baltimore. There was they're called Endurance Factory. What are they called? I can't remember what the name is.
CNC Music Factory?
I think that's what it might be. Let's see what they were called. I can't remember the name because it's not like CrossFit. But yeah, Endurance Factory CrossFit. The Endurance Factory Fitness. Their handle is Endurance Factory OCR. Yeah. So they do like High Rocks, DECA, OCR coaching. They do CrossFit. They are affiliated.
You do CrossFit? I do CrossFit.
So they do a little bit. They do a little bit of everything, but oh yeah, see, there we go. That's Joan said. That's why I'm here to hear about my trip.
That's nice.
Yeah, and but it's funny. Yeah, I saw them too because on their logo they have a Maryland flag, and I keep saying it's like now the almost this. Almost 6 years we've been an affiliate, never had a Maryland flag associated with any of our designs. And I feel like I'm slipping up as a Maryland resident by not having some sort of design with I don't even have a Maryland flag up in the gym. What am I doing? But maybe I was just like slammed with Maryland flag my entire life. Being a University of Maryland fan / I intended it for a semester.
It's a pretty cool state flag. I'd say it's one of the best out there.
It's very unique. It's definitely very unique.
Definitely top 50.
Definitely top 50 for sure. But it's funny, people outside of Maryland just don't get like, why are you so obsessed with your flag? It's like, because it's awesome.
It's regal. I love it. It harkens back to our monarch roots.
That's right.
Maybe I'll go back to a king, queen. I would take a king or a queen.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know. The queen, people seem to really like that queen.
Yeah.
She seemed to do okay for herself. But
there's something simple to it, right?
Yeah.
All this confusion of like, who's in charge? Did you break the law? Did you not break the law? Like, whatever. I don't know. Who cares? What's that guy say? He's in charge. Just tell me. Just King says I broke the law because I broke the law. Take my head. I guess you take my head. I mean, right? There's a simplicity in a tyranny.
Yeah. That's it. Oh man. But
there's comfort. There's comfort in inequality.
Yeah.
An absence of freedom. Right? Isn't that discipline? Oh no, that was discipline is freedom.
Discipline is freedom. That's
I mean, there's something to that, right? Isn't that that's Jocko's thing?
Yeah, Jocko has a lot of things.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of things. But that's one that he was able to put on a banner and sell. So it worked. But
can you still hear Charlie breathing?
No.
All right, good. This microphone's not picking it up.
There you go.
He's ridiculous. We finished walking 35. I got to work on his zone 2 cardio because we finished walking like or maybe he just needs to take that damn coat off. I mean, it is the summertime.
Yeah, that's true. Shed that thing.
But yeah.
But yeah, there were 4. So let me go back. Yeah, there was Ironclad, Blue Crab.
Ironclad Crawfish, Blue Crab, Easton. No, Endurance Fit.
And then CrossFit Odin out near Frederick.
Ooh, that's such a good name.
And then me, so 5 gyms. Yeah, they have a cool logo too. I was like, yeah, I really like your design. It's very very minimalistic, but still like says a lot. But it's a cool logo. And the guy's like, oh yeah, we have this one guy. He's actually like, he's a graphic designer. He and his wife, and they have like award-winning, they have like award-winning designs and stuff that they've used. So yeah, if you want me to hook you up, just let me know.
Your graphic designer's award-winning. She won an award.
Yeah, I think she won like attendance award at work or something like that. I don't know. I was like, no, we love our. Oh, Joan says she can hear Charlie. Joan says she can hear him.
You sure it's Charlie and not you can hear him and it's not Eric?
It could be
me. Who's actually breathing?
I think I can breathe out of my ears. That's about the only thing that's going on right now.
He has since stopped. He's now finally sleeping on the cold cement of the basement.
But yeah, it was really cool. There was 5 affiliates all in the area. I mean, there are affiliates everywhere. We know that there's 12 Labors and TrueCore up the road. There's Baydog up the road. There's Ken Island across the
Baydog. So Baydog changed their name. They're like Apex Fitness or Apex something. Like it's
really?
Which it might be like they sold and now it's like Baydog Fitness out of whatever the name is on the outside because they're right next door to where we get the prints here groomed and cleaned and stuff every 2 months. Okay. So I drove by it the other day and I was like, wait a second, they're gone.
Yeah, I know they changed to Baydog Fitness a while back. I'm curious. So let me see. But anyway, it was cool. I didn't realize how many. I did not realize how many affiliates were in Affiliate U. How many affiliates from Maryland were in Affiliate U, and then how many were actually really close by. So it was cool. So it was cool getting to meet all those people. But I think there was over 60 or 70 different affiliates there from all over the country. One from Costa Rica,
wow,
which was cool. One couple was there. I think they were. I wish I could remember the name. I think they were out of New York. They were there with their 3-month-old baby. It was just they're like they rolled in. They had their baby with them. They're like, yeah, this is her life. Like she's either at the gym or she's with us wherever we're going. And she was great the whole time. You hardly. I mean, she slept a lot, which was amazing. Like I'm still thinking, I never could have done that with Fee at 3 months. There's no way. But and I'm sorry with people with babies, but I compare a lot of their early. I compare our time with Fee early compared to their time with Fee, and I'm just like, yeah, very different experience. I think Everett was probably would have been the chill baby, but yeah, she was there, and then it was cool. There were a bunch of gyms that I've other owners and stuff that I've connected with over the last year. That like one dude out in Louis from Cow Harbor in New York. He and I chat a lot, so it was cool to actually meet him in person. This dude Brian from Mid-State in California. He's like, we're middle of nowhere, California. Like he's like maybe I think he said he's maybe like an hour or so from like Sacramento, but he's like, yeah, dead middle of nowhere. But it's like cool to meet some of those people and then actually meet like Fern in person and Ackerman in person. And I expected Fern to be taller, but I guess I expected him to be taller, but I guess he's probably about 6 feet, 6'1".
He's like 6 on the dot.
And then Ackerman is exactly as I expected him. But it was, but yeah,
there's enough videos of him out there that there's really nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And like no surprises.
He's what is that? That brick shithouse though. Like he's broad and like he's buff, man. He's a buff dude. And he'll tell you though, he does a lot of he said his fitness is probably like down a little bit because he just likes to lift in his basement. And so he's definitely putting on the mass.
The beach muscles.
Yeah. So but yeah, it was cool. And that was my first time in Denver, which I've been waiting to go out there for a long time. I always want to go out there. And I stayed with Sarah and Greg in Colorado Springs, which is beautiful. And altitude like change is definitely a real thing. Like, I remember like I was like walking, I had gone off the plane and went to Target to get a few things. And I remember like walking into Target being like a little short of breath. And it was like, and it was just wild. Like it was just a subtle enough change that like you notice it. And so that was funny. But everyone's like, drink a lot of water, you're getting an altitude headache, which I didn't know about. And so I was doing everything I could I was peeing like crazy just to make sure I didn't get a headache. There was one bathroom in this event.
So you didn't have a headache, but you did pee your pants.
Peed my pants.
That's a good trade-off.
One bathroom, long line. I'm like, oh man. So but
hey man, if there's a sink, there's 2 bathrooms now.
Yeah, that's right. There's a joke about that in the new Flash movie, by the way.
Peeing in a sink.
Peeing in the sink. He's like, oh, it's just a sink again.
I think I saw a clip of that.
I want to say it was a Flash movie. That's what I'm remembering. Yeah, but I think that's what it was. Joan is asking if I did my homework. Did you do your expectations homework that Jack assigned, and did they deliver? The answer is yeah, they definitely delivered. I wasn't sure my expectations going to it. So it's funny. They kept referring to it as a mastermind, and I didn't know what that was. Like they kept throwing around like, what's a mastermind event? Like, what is that? Like, is it? Have you heard of that term before?
There's that game. I know the game where you put like four pegs behind like a thing, and you know what I'm talking about. And then the other person has to guess it, and you like give them. Oh yeah. You got a color, but not the right spot. You got 2 colors, but not the right spot. Yeah, you got one right color, one right spot.
The whole weekend we were just trying to guess colored pegs. And that's exactly
Well, there you go. They nailed it.
They delivered. They delivered.
No, it's just like a think tank. I mean, in my experience, it connotates, or it's defined by, you have completed kind of the basic entry level, curriculum requirements to qualify to be able to think more deeply about some of the topics. So it's not a question of like more volume of lessons. Like there's nothing more for you to learn in the sense of like all you need to know subject wise about how to run an affiliate. Yeah. But now the question is, I mean, this is sort of, that's the Glassman efficacy thing. So like, all the line items in your P&L. That's the profit and loss statement for those at home, for Joan. So just because you know all the line items of your P&L, does that mean you know how to most effectively prioritize those line items to create the highest quality of service for your members, for yourself, right? So it's an opportunity to think about and kind of spitball with others of What are the variables that affect the decisions you make concerning the line items in your profit and loss statement? What is more important, 6 new kettlebells or a weekend training for 3 of your most senior coaches? Mm-hmm. Right? Each total cost for both $1,000. What's the best choice of where to spend an outsy in order to get better return on the investment with INSEEs, right? So that, it seems to me, that's how I would define a mastermind seminar or event. Is everybody here in the room is a collaborative participant.
Yeah.
It is not a opportunity for 60 people to sit around with their mouths open and some sort of like information be poured into them like a pitcher.
So that's kind of what it was. The former, because it kicks off like like Marcus Gursey gave a lecture, just kind of opening everything up. The big thing of him, and the big thing take away from him is, and he has said this to me before, and it's something that it's probably one of the hardest things for me to do, is be protective with your time. It's something that you were really good at protecting your time. Like, you have blocks on your calendar, and these are like, this is what I'm doing now, and this is what I'm doing then, and there's no.
It's because I'm selfish and self-centered, and if that bothers people, I don't really give a fuck.
Well, that's exactly. It's like it may come off as selfish and self-centered, but it's like, it's
no, it is
right. Well, okay. When it comes to managing business in a family,
I appreciate it. Thanks.
So yeah, so like we did with the podcast. Like, the podcast was at this time, and this is it. And there's, like, occasionally maybe something would come up that was just, but it would have to be a legit, like, for us to change this up. Like, it would have to be something that's just like something out of our control, is keeping one of us from being there. But maybe just like you go by yourself, or we get a guest on, we still make it happen in some way, because this is where
this is a facet. So I'd be curious. And I'm assuming, based on the absence of your answer, that you didn't actually, or maybe you did, but you didn't actually write down, like, these are the 3 things that I want to get out of this weekend.
No, I did. I did. I was constantly going back and forth. And
awesome.
Because I would write them down, and actually where I wrote them down is a question. But like,
that's good. Like that. So I would like, where did they land on hitting those things?
So I would say,
what were they, and how did they do?
So one of the expectations was, like, I'm looking to see what is, like you said, kind of we have these calls every week. We get on a call, and if you have a question about your business, like, you can get in there and ask these questions and kind of work through things. And so I was like, okay, I expected some level of that, but maybe even more so, because now you're in person. You're not on a Zoom call 1 hour, like maybe it was more like one-on-one, and it kind of was and it wasn't. So what they did was they did we're calling them hot seats, where, like, okay, they split everyone up into 3 groups, and you basically get the hot seat for like 45 minutes. So the question was like, what is the thing, whether with your affiliate or with your business or with you or something like that, you get 45 minutes, figure out what that is, and you're going to sit in a chair in front of your group, and you're going to kind of give us a little bit of a context, like your whiteboard brief, like, give us a few minutes context of where you're coming from and what is your question. And then as a group, we are going, the rule is, anyone in the group, they are only allowed to ask questions to help you figure it out. And then in that time, once it's all said and done, all right, here's what we got going on. Here's your action item. When are you going to do it? And so it was one of those, okay, I expected, or yeah, we have these calls every week or every other week where I have this question about my business, I'm going to work on it, but way more in depth. And that's kind of what this is. Like, it's going to take this thing you got going on, you're going to really dig deep into it and figure out, like, what that is. And some people, it was, I've got this coach that, I feel like they're not totally fitting in with my vibe, but they do this for me. And so I don't really want to give that up. but I'm really struggling because, you know, they know what they're talking about, but they just don't fit with the culture. But, you know, if they're not there, then, you know, I might need to pick up this thing. And the question is it worth it? This and that. And at the end of the day, it's like, sounds like you might need to let that coach go because it's causing you more stress and more like heartache and more headache than it is actually to keep them on. And is it really worth keeping that person on? Or is it something that you could let them go and you could fill in that gap for now and find someone else to do that?
Was that yours?
And, no. Oh, my coach is, well, Mary is always on thin ice, but my coach is just,
holy shit.
Mary gets fired about every couple of weeks, so you know.
It's a cycle. She quits, she comes back, she gets fired, she comes back. She quits, she comes back, she gets fired. And you guys and that's like, you guys know that you're both comfortable with that cycle.
Well, I tell all the time. It has nothing. It's nothing personal. It's her age. You know, it's just her age.
Jesus.
I was like, you know, I need to make sure that I have, you know, before she just dies one day, that I have my classes covered. So
you guys are you're practicing. So you're getting it. You're habituating yourself so that when she just suddenly disappears, you're like, oh yeah, we practiced that a lot. Each of us, we practiced that a lot. And from her end, it's, I mean, your financial situation is tenuous at best. So I mean, like, she never knows if she's just going to show up and there's like a red tape on the door of like evicted.
Right. Yes.
Right. So it's an equal. I'm on Team Mary on that one. Like, from both perspectives, you're each helping each other out for the impermanence of your situation.
Joan said Shelly just threw something at her screen in Mary's defense. But yeah, what was cool was, you know, as people are going through that, you're sitting there. I think you're getting feedback.
Well, what was yours? I mean, I understand the structure. So what was yours?
So mine, I don't know if I'm ready to dive that deep into it, but it was a little more personal, because I feel like the short end of it is, you know, the business is going in the direction that I wanted to, and it's, you know, I'll say, I remember retention was a thing that I think, especially the last couple of years, was like, we had this just kind of churn rate where we were always kind of at this number, and retention was a thing. And I feel like now I'm at a place where I've got these systems in place now that I'm finding, okay, I think, you know, and the proof will be in the pudding, maybe a month, 2 months, 3 months from now, are these systems working? But I think I'm, you know, finally at a place where I think this is doing the job. And so we'll find out more in a few months. And so, like, initially I went in and, like, that was a big thing when I first started with Affiliate U, was I felt like retention was a big issue. Like, why are we always kind of hovering around this number? And so I went in there, and then it was, okay, like, we had some systems in place that worked for you, and now I was kind of getting them into work a little bit better for me. And I feel like those are starting to, like, okay, they're starting to take shape, and they're starting to work the way I need them to. I'm in the business, and and I was also like, maybe it's coaches. I needed coaches, but now I've got, you know, some coaches in the, you know, I have some coaches in the internship process now. I have enough coaches where I went from coaching, you know, 60% of the classes to where I'm only coaching maybe 2 days a week, which is like, cool. I'm at that sweet spot right now. So all these things that when they first announced the mastermind event were things I was thinking is like, these are questions I have, and maybe I'd like to hear from other people about how they approach it. And I was like, but these things are all kind of working for me. So it was more, again, I think now it's more like, all right, the business is doing what I need it to do, but I've sacrificed a lot of myself over this last year to where I'm taking care of everyone else, and I haven't been taking care of myself the way I should be. And so, without going, I don't know if I'm ready to dive too deep into that on this in front of the masses, but
it was that. The masses of one.
Yeah. And so it was a lot of that. And it was, I will say that Ackerman, he did a presentation where he basically took quotes and ideas from Ted Lasso, and is like, he did a whole presentation where he had the slideshow of Ted Lasso quotes, or Ted Lasso, you know, basically like Ted Lasso rules. It's like, this is what you need to do for yourself, and this is what you need to do for your business. You know, it was all great. It was great stuff. And he showed this one clip from a locker room speech that he gave. when he was talking to everyone about believing in themselves. And it was, and for whatever reason like that, it just hit me. It just
hit crying.
Me. Yeah.
Good.
I'm like and I'm like, I couldn't, I'm glad I was in the back row. I'm really glad I was in the back row, but it just, God, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I just, and like I said, maybe it was like the altitude or, maybe it was just the Ted Lasso in general, but it just hit me. And then that was just kind of, it was stuff that was weighing on me a little bit. No, I'll say it came down to, it was, I don't know. It was, I think at the end of it, I realized that like, okay, here's all these other affiliate owners. And you realize like a lot of them are going through the same shit as you. Like, you feel like you're on this island sometimes. And I think even more so, like, since you left, like it's even more so just you feel like you're on an island, and you have a lot of people that tell you you're doing great. And a lot of people are, that are support, but no one really knows what you're in because they're not in it with you. And so it was really, if anything, it was just great being around a bunch of people like, hey, I feel you. Like, here's what I got going on. And so you're not on an island. There's people that are going through it with you and either going through it now or they've been through it and have advice or feedback or just questions that they ask questions that you didn't think to ask. Yeah. And so being on that hot seat, if anything, it was just kind of like I was able to kind of unload a little bit. And then, people asked good questions, and some questions were like, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Like it is that simple, but it's not that simple. Like the conversation we had about nutrition a while back, like, yeah, it sounds really easy, but it's really not that fucking easy. And so like kind of being there, and then if anything, just kind of slowing things down a little bit and having a conversation of like, here's maybe what you need to do to start. Let's start here and get this ship right. Because Fern's like, dude, like your business, like you're doing great, you're killing it, and maybe you need to tell yourself that more. Like it's okay. So you're killing it here. We can work on this, and we'll go from there. And so that's that was the big thing I got out of it. And then is my own. I feel like had I gone, I went the second day. So again, you're in a group of maybe 20 or 30 people. Everyone gets about 40 to 45 minutes. And I kept kind of holding off going because I wasn't totally sure what I wanted to ask. And then as the days went on, I was like, okay, so I was one of the last people to go because I wasn't sure. And I think it just started weighing on me. I think that's where the day 2, the Ackerman's Ted Lasso video got to me. And I was carrying this shoulder because I was thinking about it on the way in because like,
right, because you had to drive, right? You had to drive up and back.
Yeah, I had a lot of time to just, so
that's
like,
cool. Yeah, that's a good.
If anything, that was like between the flight and the drive, because it's about an hour drive back and forth each way. And I was up like early because I was way off on the time. Like I was up at like 3:30 in the morning there, so 5:30 here, and so a lot of time to just kind of think. So I think if anything too, I didn't expect as much time to just kind of be alone with my thoughts and undistracted. And so that was I think that was a bonus, and that was something that I wasn't expecting, that I think helped a lot. And so I think so I had expectations of having like being able to bounce ideas and like questions off other people like in real time. I had that expectation, so I think it met that and then some. And then just another side of it too, just the networking, like getting to know more affiliate. Like I said, there's more affiliate owners in there in Maryland than I realized.
Can you share what was, so if you don't want to share the specifics, is there something measurable or specific that you're going, like that is your next, that people can be excited to see coming or being taken away? Sometimes it's better to trim than add.
Yeah, it's funny. What was it? They said, the words yes and the word no are full sentences.
Yeah, and period. They have periods after them.
Yeah. And so,
do you want to come tomorrow? No.
Like you don't have to explain yourself. Just say no.
Nope.
But I think for other people to get excited for, I think they'll see it in the affiliate. I don't know if there's something measurable I can put my finger on per se with the affiliate, but it's okay, I feel like I've been giving everything I have to the affiliate at the sacrifice of myself, and to where like let's say I'm not feeling 100%. Let's say I'm feeling 60%, right? I'm at like 60% of my best. Well, if people feel like that my 60% is crushing it, then if I'm able to sort things out and get that closer to 100, then you're really going to see it in the affiliate. And is that if I'm able to make people feel like they're in a special place and this thing is awesome and just everything is crushing it at where I kind of feel now, then just wait. Because now I feel like I'm at the space now too, and it's conversations with Meg about, again, finding that balance in our schedule and protecting our time where we need to protect it, and really just making time. I'll tell you, I need more time with just Megan too. Like Fern's like, I abused my in-laws. He's like, I called them and said, come watch the kids. We're going on a date. And, I need more time I want more time to connect with Meg, because I feel like I'm, sometimes just ships passing.
Yeah.
So I feel like if anything now I'm in a place where the affiliate is moving in a way that I can find that space for me, whatever that is. And it might even just be finding just a much more consistent schedule with all the things, whether it's the sleep, whether it's the workouts, which now allows me to take a breath and step back and then use those yes and no words more with confidence, knowing that hey, we're good. We don't need that. Or, hey, that's a good idea. I have things in place where maybe that is something we could do if someone wants to take it on and that sort of thing. So it's so again, short answer, I don't know if there's anything concrete I could say right now. But I think it'll show. It'll make its way in.
So not a toga party in August.
I was going to say more assault bikes, but I think that would actually. I think that's the opposite of what people want.
What a waste of money. Yeah, there you go. Get those Echo bikes.
Echo bikes. So, yeah, but I think, like I said, it was cool. It was cool. I don't know. It was really cool seeing what other people have, because it's the same thing too, where you realize, what's that saying? Like, if everyone put their problems in the middle of the table, you probably, you got to pick. You probably take your own back.
Good point. Right? I like that. I've never heard that. I like that.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's and because everyone's problems feel so big, and you're like, oh my god, these
to
are
themselves,
right, to themselves, and then you hear other people's, and they're like, oh, you know what? Actually, I'm fine.
I'm good. I'll keep mine.
I'll joke. There was this one dude who actually a lot of people were like, actually, I would take his problems. I wouldn't mind his problems at all, because he's sitting at I think he's sitting at 220 members, and he's got, he's coaching 3 classes a week, or he's maybe coaching 3 times a week. He has 2 classes that maybe he would rather not coach because they're super early, and he'd rather not coach them. But he has coaches in training that his big thing is he's just having trouble pulling the trigger on putting them in that place. He's like, yeah, I'm at 200 members. I want to be at 300, and also, I'm retired from the fire department, and so I don't really need more money, but I guess more money would be okay. And everyone's. There was a couple times throughout the day, people were like, "I kind of want his problems. Can we have his problems?"
Go fuck yourself, Stan.
But what's cool in talking to him is yeah, but guess where I was a year ago, right?
Yeah.
And so if anything too, it's cool for people to say, hey, just hang on, trust your gut, trust the process.
So is there something that came out of it where heuristics are a helpful tool often of if he were to simplify it down, what are the 3 things that he did over the course of that year that had and maybe even just what is the one thing that he did that had the largest lever or kind of the largest pivot point on making the change, getting the momentum going? Is that question? You know what I mean? That. Yeah. Oftentimes, that's because that's what that that trick of okay, what's the one thing you can do next, and when are you going to do it? it simplifies it. It makes all the noise go away. Be like, all right, well, fuck, I can't do anything else until I do this one thing. So like for him, if he had 3, awesome. But like, did he say like, what is the one thing that he did that was beneficial?
So for him, he just, I mean, one big thing that I kind of got from him is he was just patient. Like he was just patient. So like, you know, he started with Affiliate U, and it was just, what's the next thing in the next module? What's the next thing I have to do and implement? So maybe it was for him, maybe it was just first thing to do is take the budget course. And his action item was like, take the budget course and, you know, get that done this week, and if anything, just get his budget in line. And he wasn't.
So is that patience, or is that deliberateness of like follow the steps?
I think it's both. I think it's both, because I think it's easy to look ahead and see like, oh, I really, you know, oh, they're talking about Bring a Friend Week. I should do a Bring a Friend Week. Like, let me get on that Bring a Friend Week. And it's like, because I definitely want to get new members in the door. And it's like, well, he's like, he could have jumped on and done that right away. But so I think it's both. I think it's patience and deliberateness. It's following the process, but also like not getting too distracted by the shiny thing over here, knowing he wanted more members. So here's a great way to get more members. Or if my money's not right, then getting new members in is just going to add to the, you know, sure, more money's going to be coming in, but where's it going?
Still flooding. Yeah, exactly.
And so
ship's going to sink unless you plug the hole.
Yeah. And so what they kept saying too, everyone kept saying, rising. You were speaking of ships, and they kept quoting this, but they kept
rising tide raises all ships.
Yeah, but they kept saying raises all boats. And I always hear you say ships. And so every time they said boats, I want to be like, it's ships. You need to say ships. Or it's like the tide, as the tide rises, the boats will too, or something like that. I was like, you're butchering it. But I only know what
you're screwing it all up.
Wasn't that on a t-shirt? It was on her t-shirt. That was, but I think that was him. Yeah. Like a patience and deliberateness. And like, now he's at a point where he's like, things are so good right now that he was trying to find something. You can tell he was trying to find something to say like, I need this to be better. At the end of the day, it turns out like, hey man, it sounds like you really don't want to coach those morning classes. Maybe you just need to get a coach on the floor and coach those morning classes.
So let me ask you this. The question that, I mean, he's a great example. What's the end to which all of this is directed towards? Because for him, it's a rhetorical question that I'll answer for myself. If I'm looking at him, what's his end? And if his end is to make more money or to run a better gym, to whatever, that's a fine end, but it's not going to lead to happiness. Yeah. It's just going to be, it's just going to be sort of that's not the right word, but it's just going to be sort of circular within itself, and it won't yield, this is my opinion, but for him, and it's already manifesting, it won't yield a greater sense of happiness or accomplishment or something. So even like the gym that you're running, like, is your end really more clients? Is your end really like, a better bottom line, or are those just means to something else, to an end that is transcendent of even the gym itself?
I think it's the same question when someone says they want to lose weight, right? Like it's I want to weigh 180 pounds. Well, what is that number? Like, why? Like,
what does that mean?
Get there, what's next? And I honestly, like, someone asked him, like, you know, he said he wants to be at 300. You know, he wants to be at 300 members. And someone asked him, like, well, why 300? Like, why is that number so important? It's like, I think it was even
because it's a great movie.
Right?
Right. Ripped dudes.
Oh, did I say 300 members? I want all of my members to look like 300.
There we
go. Yeah, I think it was even further that asked him. He's like, but what does 300 mean? Like, do you want, like, does that mean you'll be bringing this much in? Like, this is how much revenue? And he's, you know, is this how much you want to bring in? He's like, I mean, no, I'm good. So friends, like, so if you brought in 300 and you made no more money, you're good. He's like, yeah, no, I'm good. And so he's like, all right, so it's not about the money, right? And I think in his mind, and so at the end of the day, it was like, we'll figure out like what that actually is for you. Like, what is success for you? Because it sounds like you're tied onto this number of, I want 300 members, but why? It's just this arbitrary number that he had in his head that success is 300 people.
Right. Can you go the other way? Can you say, all right, well, what if I told you that you could still make the same amount of money and have 100 less clients?
Yeah.
Have 100 less members.
Yeah.
What does that like? What does that look like? Does that change what it is that this whole project is facilitating for you?
Yeah.
And that, I mean, and I kind of offer you that same question. So you have that time, right?
Yeah.
Somehow, whatever things you're putting in place, whatever you're going to do to go from 60 to 80 to 85 to 90, good luck getting to 100. I think you should actually be happy at 60.
I'll tell you what's
whatever. Like what then does that facilitate?
Yeah, that's it's funny, all these people kept saying, I mean, I swear to God, everyone I talk to, they have triple digits in members. And I see where we're at, and we're like, well, we're not even close to triple digits. But also like not knowing their demographic, not knowing their location, not knowing their like thinking about like, is that number, what does that number really mean? So in my mind, like I didn't get too hung up on. I was like, man, I need 100 members because all these people have triple digits. I know what 100 members looks like at Fairwinds CrossFit. It's a nice chunk of change coming into the bank account, but also like it's a lot of people to manage. That's probably multiple extra classes on the schedule. That's probably multiple coaches being on staff. So what does that actually mean? So what was the question? It was
you said one of the things you wanted was more time for you.
Yeah.
Which AKA meant more time for Meg, which
you
and Meg. And so what does that act like? What will you do with that time? How does that manifest as something that is important to you?
So the time for me is a big part of it is now living a little bit further away from the gym. But it's so there was someone asked me a question like, someone asked me how often can you work out with your classes? I was like, I can work out with them. Like right now I can work out with them a lot, but it's a time commitment for me because I'm 40 minutes away. It's 40 minutes back. So you're already talking, almost an hour and a half just drive time. Plus knowing that by the time I get there, by the time I leave, I'm probably there for at least another hour and a half. And so what does that mean if I go and take a class? Well, it means that Megan's probably here with the kids by herself. I'm probably not doing the middle of the day because she's working. And so really what I mean by time is I can, I'm coaching a couple classes a week. I could get up another morning or two and go work out with a class in the morning. I could also maybe plan to go work out with a class in the evening. And I can do that at my leisure because my coaching schedule now allows me for that, where I can connect with members I can connect with members by making those classes. What it also means is when I'm home, I don't have to think about the business. Like when I have my set time that I'm working on the business, and then as soon as that time's over, I can put my phone away, I can put my computer away, and guess what I'm paying attention to? The kids that are here, whether fees at camp or it's a day that we're doing homeschool stuff. Axel and Everett. So it's time for me is feeling like, okay, when I've allotted this amount of time to work on the business today, and when I'm done, I close it up and I'm done and I don't have to think about it the rest of the day. And I can focus on it was the conversation of like finding balance, like finding work-life balance, which is really silly because it's like the idea of work-life balance, something's always going to be imbalanced. I think you're either focusing on one thing or the other. It's like stuff in CrossFit, right? Like as soon as you start to focus on this one thing more, something else is going to drop off, and it's this constant teeter-totter. And so right now I feel like it's the work's here and maybe the at-home family life is here, and I'm trying to bring that back, if just a little bit. So time for me means when I have set time to work on the business, and when I'm done, I can shut it down and not think about it and be here, whether that is homeschooling, whether that is going on a date with Megan, whether that is just being able to keep up with stuff at home.
Is there do you have a clarity of, if faced with a decision between X and Y, how you will pick X or Y? And you could scenario this maybe if it gives it more meat on the bone of like, okay, so you have a decision between waking up and going early into a class or staying home and spending time with Fee, Everett, and Axel, and Meg by default because she's there. But maybe she's sleeping because she's catching up, right? So do you have a sort of guiding, not mantra, but sort of that comes back to like a guiding end state of how you determine between two things that are in of themselves fine and probably, you know, worthwhile pursuits, but yet they do exist in a binary of you can't have both. So you have to pick between them. What is the metric or the way in which you decide between them?
So I'd say like I want the decision is why I choose them to be. Let's say, so I'm choosing between, let's say, getting up and working out, going to the gym and working out, or being with the family, right? So my gut and my feelings say, well, I want this time with my family because I won't remember this workout, but I'll remember this time with them, whatever that is. But that might be, this could be working out, this could be getting up and doing work on the business, this could be whatever it is in the middle of the day. I still drop it when it means time with the kids, but what I'm finding myself doing is I am dropping this thing and then trying to pick it up somewhere else, and it's not that time isn't really there because I haven't set my time up and I haven't set my schedule up to be a way where I want to be able to say when I'm, like I said, when I'm done, I'm done. And so this time is, I can easily say this 2 hours here is for the gym, or it's for work, or it's for working out, and the rest of the time is here. I don't know if that answers.
That answers the question. And that, I mean, we made fun of it, but that's that in a sense, that's where that discipline equals freedom resonates and has relevance, is that it takes discipline to schedule blocks in a calendar. It's totally made up. It's completely artificial.
Yeah.
But then it also takes discipline to say, right? Like, so the children and your relationship with Meg, there is an underlying connotation that those are so that those are so finite, right? That you must take advantage of them right now because they, as you just said, you won't remember the workout, but right. So, but in its inverse, that's saying that the time you have to take care of yourself is not finite,
right?
That can be recaptured at some other point. But what if they're both equally finite? That you will remember those workouts, maybe not consciously, but your body will, your health will. And so in 15 years, when you're unable to do certain things, because you did not invest in that discipline of carving out that time. Do you see how? So because it's the immediate gratification of the right now for the thing in your gut that feels more beneficial at the expense of the thing that you're not going to see the payoff of that for whatever, but yet like consciously and rationally, you're like, but I really want that. But when faced with in the moment, like, it's like, I'll get it later. I'll do it later. Right. So and it's totally normal. Like this isn't something unique to you.
Let's say that's kind of the exercise where, so I was going back to some of the stuff Affiliate U, and one of the exercises they have you do is sorry what's called, but it's called your client's heaven and hell. And it's like so like say someone comes to your affiliate and they walk in the door and they are in their personal hell, right? Like, so that's the idea, is like they come in and they're in a place, and they're in a place to the point where they needed to come to you. They felt like, I need to get to this, I need to come here and I need to do this thing because this is where I'm at in my life. And so the exercise is, so describe your client's hell, right? This person comes in, they're in their hell. For 5 minutes, write down where that person's at. What are they feeling? What are they doing? What do they look like? What are their, this and that? Write that down for 5 minutes. And then another exercise is like, okay, now if you're for 5 minutes, write down if they're still in this course now, where do they see themselves in 10 years? And then the switch of that is, okay, they come in and now they've come to your gym and they've turned things around. Take 5 minutes, like now they're in their heaven. So take 5 minutes, write down their heaven. What would their heaven feel like? And then where would they see themselves in 10 years? So basically, like, they're here now, and let's flip it. And so I'm writing like the clients. I'm writing that down, like the 5 minutes clients, hell. And that's what hit me. It was like, I think I'm my own client, I think I'm my own. And like, I'm always hardest on myself, but I'm like, I'm my own self walking into my own gym saying, this is where I'm at. Because when I wrote down 10 years from now, I see where my dad was at when I'll be 40 this year, dude. And I see where my dad was at when he was 50, if I like keep on this track. And so that's where so Fern asked me, like, taking better care of yourself leads to what? Like, what are you doing that for? And I said, I see the track that I'm on, and it's reminding me of the track that my dad was on. And yeah, my dad was there, but by the time, my dad was, so, I mean, I was older, like I'll be 50 before.
I got it. Relatively, you are older than your kids were than he was to
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. So 10 years from now, like if I'm on a track to where my dad was, I'm not going to get to enjoy my kids, and my kids are seeing this. Like, I'm setting this example for my kids, and I don't feel about the example I'm setting for my kids. Plus, I know down the line, like, I don't want to set them up, because I think that's baggage too that I'm carrying, like, from my own family. This was the example I was given, and my whole intent was to turn that around. And when I started CrossFit, that was part of my intent, to turn this thing around. That I see the track that my dad was going down, and even my brother was going down. My whole intent was kind of turn that around, and I feel like it's kind of backtracking a little bit. And so the whole point is, like, why do I want to take better care of myself? Not for any particular PR, for any particular aesthetic, but I see where I'm going and I don't like it. And I want to be a better example for my kids. And I want to be there. I want the things that I'm putting off now to be with my kids. I'm not going to be able to do that, like, physically down the line. Like, I want to be, when I turn 50, be able to run and climb with them and jump with them, and not be falling asleep in a chair snoring at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah. There's clarity in, and a simplicity in treating things in sort of it's artificial and it's constructed, but there's a clarity in categorizing certain things.
Yeah.
Right. And perhaps your instincts to let everything just kind of blur into life. Right. So you could even literally take it in the sense of, if the business has a bank account, mm-hmm. nobody touches that bank account unless it's for business purposes. Yeah. If the business has kettlebells, nothing touches that kettlebell except in the right. So they're totally artificial rules. Like, there's no law. Well, for tax purposes, there are some laws, but there's no law that says. But, like, I'll offer to you, like, in the Navy, like, if you buy pens for work and you take one of those pens home, you are breaking the law.
Yeah.
So, right, it's a fucking pen.
Yeah.
But, like, that's a real thing, because there's an old saying, right? In the government, money is not always the same color. Certain lines of money are authorized for certain types of usage. And if you cross those usages, explosives have certain classifications, and you're allowed to use, it's the same fucking C4, but you can't use it for some things, but you can use it for other things if it's classified as a certain category. So these are the types of things. They're totally artificial, but what they do is they offer a clarity for when, where, and how to use it, so that it allows for a simplicity and an efficiency to be able to do the things that lead to what you want in a bigger sort of truer, more virtuous, and in the end, just a manifests a happier sort of existence, right? And so there's that sense that, I'll tell you, for me personally, I never, though I broke this rule from time, I would never wear my uniform home. Right. My uniform stayed at work. Yeah. I wore civilian clothes in. You change, like almost like Mr. Rogers, right? He never wore his inside shoes outside.
Yeah.
He came in, sang his song, sat down, puts on his shoes.
Yeah.
Hello, boys, right? Like there's a sense to that. So do you wear your coach's shirt to the gym? Do you wear your coach's shirt home from the gym? Now, all of a sudden, there's this like physical manifestation that there's a blending of the two. It's total bullshit. And it, right? Like, but at the end of the day, what it does is it offers a boundary to remind you of like, oh, I am breaking my own rule. And in the breaking of that rule, it has downstream effects of not letting me do or get to the final end that I want. And that, right, like that's, but if that doesn't work for you, then okay, but find something else, because in the end, like defining what you just did, like that was a really cool, that in the end, like this business, who gives a shit if you're running it in 10 years or even if it exists in 10 years, if it doesn't let you do the other things you're doing that you want to do, right? Like you could find a job down there where you live.
Yeah.
That would probably bring in the bottom line, same amount of revenue that you're making now.
Yeah.
And would let you work out and have more time with your kids.
Yeah.
So why the hell are you running a gym?
It's funny. I ask people sometimes, like, do you guys ask yourself often, like, why you do this? I'm like, oh yeah, all the time. We still ask it, but we come back to it, and it's, I mean, this is, I don't know if that was rhetorical or not, but this is, I do feel like this is my calling. This is the thing that I'm really good at. And,
awesome. But can you be really good? Can you be really good at something and it also not be beneficial to the rest of your life?
Of course.
So it's sort of that, like,
so the question,
then is that really worth doing?
At the end of the day, no, but I know that I can, I'm confident that I can do both. But like you said, that blurred line, like, it's funny you saying that. And as you're saying that, wear your work shirt home. And then there's this blending. Like I said, I think this all comes back to baggage I have, like, growing up. But like, I blame my mom for being persistent. I blame my dad for not setting those boundaries. There was no boundary between work and home. And dad was always to the point where he was literally working from home. Like, he set his office up downstairs in the family room. And my mom, he would be on a call with a client as my mom's yelling downstairs, asking my dad, I don't know.
Where are the keys to the truck? I gotta move the car.
Who's taking Michael to practice? Like, he's working and she's yelling down. There was no, and I grew up with that. Like, even when he had his own office, there was that line was never established. And I think that was I think a lot of stress that weighed on my dad. He was bringing work home with him, and then his personal life was leading into work, and he was never able to separate the two. And so he carried a lot of those burdens on his shoulders all day, every day.
Right. I feel like I've heard this before. This saying of, like, with great power comes great responsibility. Maybe something like that.
I think was that from The Flash? Did you see The Flash? That's from The Flash.
But in that sense, you change power to freedom. So with great freedom comes great responsibility. You have the freedom. Yeah. You're the boss, man. You're single owner. Yeah, single owner operator. You answer to no one. So in answering to no one, we all got to answer to somebody. Yeah. Who do you answer to?
I'll tell you, my dad said too, him moving the office home it saved him a lot of money on a lease. But he said one time that was a mistake. He said it was a mistake. And they were supposed to put a door up at the top of the steps to, like, separate it. And mom didn't want a door up there. Yeah. So there was never that. But he said that was a mistake, moving the business home. Like, it saved him money, but it wasn't worth it. And so anyway, but that's where I think at the end of the day, that's where I find myself. Like, I need to, like you said, there are these boundaries are they're artificial, but there needs to be a clear line somewhere so that down the line,
it's even in the current state of CrossFit. We'll take the 10,000 pound load off your shoulders here for a second, right? Dave Castro coming back as the director of the games.
Yeah.
Sorry, director of sport.
Yeah.
I heard somebody say it once where he was the villain that early on, he was the villain that kind of CrossFit needed, where like everybody hated him. But we all want and need a villain in the narrative of it might have been Rory McKiernan on the Mayhem on the Frony podcast. It's a great role. And maybe a lot of the fear of him coming back into the fold is that he'll still be this villain character, but now in a position where you don't really want a villain.
Yeah.
But there is a power, there's a strength in kind of having rules. Yeah. And so that makes me think of like in my role, I often in our relationship and in the relationship at the gym, I had this, people had this connotation or idea of me as this like, oh, he's very rigid. He followed, like he's very stern and like blah, 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 which if you actually get to know me, like I'm the complete, like I don't follow rules actually.
Yeah.
Like it's actually the thing that Nicole really gets frustrated with is I'm much more like my dad where I'll see a rule. Like I know the rule and I know how to follow the rule, but at every turn I'm looking for a way to not follow it. I don't park there. Go that way? No, I don't go that direction. I go this way. Be like, are you allowed to do that?
What's up? That's Fiona too.
Yeah, because rules are for chumps, man. Like sheep follow rules. Sheep get in line. Sheep are herded, right? Yeah. I'm a fucking shepherd. And I'm not even a shepherd. I'm a fucking wolf. Wolf. I can never say it. I woof. Dogs go woof.
I usually give a quick howl. Give one big howl.
Right. But that's my own, right? That's my own version or my own narrative of the way I see myself.
Yeah.
But what I also understand is it's not the nicest or the best outlook of people. Most people are fucking sheep that, all right, well, what makes sheep comfortable? Knowing that they're part of a herd, knowing that they have a direction to go. So put fucking labels on where the plates go.
Yeah.
And then if people don't put the plates back, give them a little hit on the right. And maybe give them a little carrot to like put the plate back. But over time, what happens is people habituate to following the rule to create space to not have to worry about that anymore, to maybe do something a little bit better, more worthwhile, more offering of happiness, and like that if I don't have to worry about the little things because I've been habituated to sort of the routine, now I have space and room and time. And that, right? So if that's a role that somebody needs to fill and that's the service that I could provide, then I could provide it. But I know we've talked about it. It came to a point where I didn't want that role anymore.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out how to have anybody take it or step into it.
Yeah.
And so it was sort of I'm going to prioritize what I want and what I think is of more service. And it's not this and it's not here. And so that was the decision, right? To not stay or go. Both worthwhile decisions. How do you decide between two equally important things?
Yeah.
You just eventually have to decide and know that you can't do it all.
Well, I always appreciate too when you said, I think I remember the most when you said like you were getting to a point where like it was going to start making its way, whether it was into the business or our relationship. And it was do what whatever, cut the losses, preserve the relationship, because at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. And I always appreciated that because you always hear the stories of where people would just kind of let it spiral and resent, and then there goes the relationship. And really, this relationship was forged long before we opened an affiliate, and now it's still strong after.
And in a sense, I liked what you said about patience. Sorry to interrupt you, but that like my timetable of this, me and you, but also this, right? Like, what does 10 years look like? I don't know. But what I do know is if in 10 years I stayed on that same trajectory, it won't look like the way I want it to look. So cutting something now, though painful and maybe like, if I have the patience to know that cut allows for sort of a redirection, and you still end up getting to the place that you had wanted, but now you got there a different direction or a different way, then all right, so what? So be it, right? Like there's no deadline timetable on happiness, except there is, like, we all what's the final destiny or something? I forget. There's like a line like I ruined it. But like, right, we all know how this story ends.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
So I'm in no rush to race to that red light. But that to me is what I feel like you're scratching on.
Yeah.
So what are the, like, there's probably only one or two, maybe three things, and they're probably so small and so simple.
Yeah.
This is exactly what you were describing, like, but they feel so insurmountable.
Yeah.
That you have in front of you that just a tiny change, and now all of a sudden it's a completely different, you have a completely different perspective on it. And is it as simple as, like, you leave the house at 6 a.m. and you return to the house at 3 p.m. every day? Like, that's it. And those are the hours in which you work on the box. And clearly maybe there's some other things because of the nature of the business, but they're like, right, so that, like, that's the window. And everything outside of that window is non-negotiable, including, like, from 6 to 3, emergencies at home. Sorry, I can't. Right? Like that. So if that's the non-negotiable, then what else has to be put in place to prevent? Because emergencies will happen. But if those emergencies happen, like, no, I'm not.
A reminder: emergencies are not communicated through email. So you can check your email in the morning and then worry about it later in the day. Don't worry about emergency emails, because that's not how emergencies are communicated.
Right. But do you know, like, so it's sort of that, like, you currently have the flexibility to be able to respond to something between 6 and 3.
Yeah.
But if you say to yourself, no, notionally, right, thought experience, I don't have that flexibility. Okay, well then what? Like, emergency is still going to happen. What do I have to put into place? Oh, easy, fast, cheap.
Easy,
right?
fast,
That
cheap,
to me is the heuristic I always come back to. So, like, right now you're choosing easy over fast and cheap.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to pay for it, and you're okay that it's going to take time, but you don't actually have to. It doesn't feel easy. So actually what it feels like, you feel like you're not getting any of the three, right? But in a sense, you kind of are. You're choosing the easy because you're not having to change any of your behavior.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? That if I'm diagnosing, but again, you're not.
That's what it is. Like, it's like my, it's because it's this happens a lot where someone's like, I've been doing this thing, and it's basically that question of, like, well, this thing isn't working, so, like, you need to make some sort of change. I'm trying to think of the example, but someone's like, yeah, well, I'm doing this and in hopes that it's going to do this. It's like, well, this ain't working, so you ain't getting there. And it's
doctor hurts when I go like that. You know what he told me? Don't do that anymore. I went to doctor. I said, doctor, what's wrong? He said you're going to die. I said, I want a second opinion. He said, well, you're ugly too.
So, well, we got to land this plane. I'm sorry. we could make this a 2-parter easy, but yeah, I think, like you said, it is 100%. Like, if you just it's funny. Marcus was saying he's like, he would take from like 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. He would go to a coffee shop up the street. He wouldn't be at his gym. He would leave. He would go to a coffee shop up the street. He put his headphones on and his hood up, and he would work. And like no distractions. Like no one's allowed to touch that 3-hour window, right? And he put his hood up so in case anyone walked in and they saw him, they would know. And I remember I did that once. I went to the Starbucks up the street, and sure enough, like everyone after class is like walking in and comes up and says hi.
Bad location.
So I was like, all right, so I went to the Starbucks at the Harbor Center. I swear to God, 40 minutes in, Joe walks in. Joe walked in. I was like, dude, what are you doing at this one? He goes, oh, well, this is the one I go to on my way out. Like these people know me. Like that's his Starbucks.
Yeah.
I'm like, great. I have to drive to Crofton to go, or I should just put my hood up and say. But it's also that like, hey, someone's come up and say, hey. They're like, hey, what's going on? Love to chat, but I got to get this done. And that's right. That.
Well, it's also, I mean, you're asking yourself to do a 500-pound deadlift with no warm up. And I'll keep it short. Like, the specifics of what Marcus is talking about are fine.
Yeah.
But it's not the specifics. What he's saying is he had to carve out. It was hard to do that probably, but it was cheap. And what it is it's not fast. Yeah. So he is both taking the fact that he can't see the immediate results of that, except at the end of like 6 months or a year. That's the patience. And it was hard because you have to think about like, oh, well, I could go to the Starbucks right up the road, but that's not going to get you what you want. So like, it might not be the Starbucks. And why are you doing it? You're doing it because you're prioritizing that this thing is important and no one is going to infringe upon that. And when they do, the simplicity of it won't be as hard to say no, period. Right. And you go back, God, what an asshole. Right. And oh God, even saying that, I'm like, oh, I don't want them to think I'm an asshole. I want to explain to them. Oh, no, I'm here because I'm doing work. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, really? What are you working on? Oh, blah, blah, blah. 15 minutes later, you're like, well, fuck, there goes my hour of work.
Yeah. And that's exactly what he said. Whereas at first it's like, it feels like you're being selfish or it feels like you're being rude, but it's like, take 2 hours, maybe it's 1 hour a day. Start with 1 hour a day, 5 days a week. Like do that and look at and he's like, protect that hour with everything you got. Like just like you would protect an hour with like someone comes in for a client, protect that hour like you would with a client. Do that for a full month and watch how much you got done and watch how much further ahead your business is. And now imagine if you can replicate that to 2 hours a day,
this is where the power, you don't currently have it. You don't currently have the freedom of a bureaucracy to blame for those structures.
Yeah.
And so this will be my gratitude. I'll double dip here.
There we go.
I mean, it sounds silly, but like I'm often very grateful for institutionalized bureaucracies for that very reason. That like, I know that I have to be in class from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. today. I can't fake it. I can't dial in. I can't not go. Right. Like, I mean, I can, but if I do that too many times, then I'm not taking the class. But I physically have to show up at a room on campus at St. John's to go to class. If I'm not there, I didn't go to class. It's a binary. You either are there or you're not. And I didn't set the time. I didn't set the amount. I didn't set the reading list. I didn't do any of that. I'm a victim, or I'm subjected to the rules of this institutional bureaucracy. And in the freedom that allows me, all I have to do is read and show up.
Yep.
And then I get to participate. Like that is one of the things that makes that CrossFit class structure so beautiful and wonderful for the client and for the athlete who comes, but also for the coach and for you as the participant. So can you model? That would be my gratitude. Like, can you model the same sort of thing that like while you're coaching on the floor, you are free from all the other things, right? You will not answer your phone. You will not answer a text. You will not do this. Like it is. And if you do, what are you? You're a shitty coach.
Yeah.
You're not actually performing in the role that you said you're going to perform. Yeah. So the gratitude of there are these bureaucracies, these institutionalized, established structures that you could model in other places. The question is, how do you transcribe or sort of take that and steal that and put it into these other places to elicit the same sort of thing? And that, I mean, that is my gratitude of that is often what I try to do for myself of like, oh, right. Like I haven't written anything for public consumption in probably a year or so. Yeah. And I'm like, why? Well, because I have no bureaucratic structure requiring of me to do it. Or one that is going to be worth anything to me, that like, I won't just be like, nah, fuck it, I'm not going to do it. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, well, maybe if I really want to do that, I need to put that into place. And that, I mean, there's a gratitude in that of like, that's the discipline equals freedom.
Yeah.
So thanks, Jocko. I guess my gratitude is bureaucracies and Jocko.
Yeah, there you go. Jockocracies.
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 Jock rock. Actually, let me check. My gratitude is Jock rock playlists from 1993.
Nice. So mine is I was thinking about it, and it was so there was this one owner who he's shares the business. It's him, his wife, and his sister-in-law. So three-way split there. And
he's fucked.
And I'll tell you, it was funny. His question was like, he feels like there's three people, but he feels like there needs to be a leader. There needs to be someone that has like the final say on this, because right now it feels like who really has the final say and who doesn't. And of course, jokingly I said, so wait a second, it's you? He goes, yeah. I was like, your wife who's a woman? He said, yeah. And he goes, your sister-in-law who's a woman? He goes, yeah. I was like, well, what's the question? You're the man. The final say is you. And the woman next to me, she's like, I'm going to hit you so hard in the face. I was like, I'm kidding. It was just a joke. But I came back and I said, it was a perfect example. I was able to talk to him a little bit afterwards. And I said, I had a business partner, and he and I used to joke all the time that it was like a marriage, but like there were very clear defined roles. This was his job and this was my job, even to down to the it was just like you created that spreadsheet, that flow chart. Here's my role, and it's just
the schedule of resources and management.
That's the one. And then there was even as simple as like the morning coach does the towels, not the PM coach. The morning coach does the towels. I was like, and so having those clear cut roles, you don't necessarily need to have an alpha. Like you don't have to have, but it's, when it comes down to this, it falls under this person and this person. And I said, so like having those clear roles, and I asked him, like, do you have those? He goes, no, that's something he needs to work on. And that's something he's going to kind of put in place. And I said, another thing, being with a marriage, and again, we always joke with the marriage, is if you ever get to that point where you start to feel like you're getting frustrated, or like someone's overstepping, or like there starts to be a sense of resentment, get together, have like that air of grievances. And I felt like you and I would have that maybe once a year, where we just needed to come together and just
unload for the rest of us,
right? and just unload for an hour. And at the most, like coming out, it was like, okay, cool. Like I didn't realize I was doing this, or if I was doing this, like I didn't realize like where you were coming from, or you didn't realize where I was coming from. And every time we came out, I feel like we came out of that stronger. I was like, and so when you get to that point, like you just got to make sure, like, don't let that stuff sit, like get it out and get it going. It's probably not as easy. It might be easier. It might not be as easy when it's your wife, but but then also your sister-in-law. And so like you got two other bodies there, but I was like, as soon as you guys start to feel that like tension where people are overstepping, or you don't understand why this person did that, get together and just talk it out. And I'll tell you that will like make this run a lot smoother in the long run. He goes, oh, cool, good. So like I was excited that I got it felt like it totally was a marriage. It 100% was a marriage where you have to find this balance, and things are gonna, wires are gonna get crossed. You're gonna be butting heads at some point, but you got to come back to some point where you just got to communicate and over communicate. And I said, so really at the end of the day, like keep doing that, have those clear roles, and just keep communicating, and like that'll work out. But good luck with that. wife and sister-in-law. So, but I was glad I could take that experience and kind of share it with him, and hope that helps him down the line. Because I always remember that, like it was, we always knew that if we got to a point where we felt like, dude, we got to talk about this, we always could.
Yeah, so totally agree.
And so it was awesome.
I'm glad. I'm really happy for you. I guess my other guy. I'm really grateful that you went to that thing, and I'm glad it yielded and will continue to yield benefits for you. So I guess that's my bonus, my PS. So that's really cool, and I'm super impressed. I'm proud. That's not the right word. I don't know. I'm a glass case of emotions. That you went, that you took the time and committed to it. That's really freaking good, dude.
It was good. It was good. All the kids, Meg had the kids. They all got sick this weekend, so that made it easy. It was raining, it was muggy, and the kids were all sick. So, I mean, she had it easy. Honestly, I don't know. So that's my bonus.
And you're making misogynistic statements amongst strangers. So
I'm like, there's like, all right, somebody has to say it. It's going to be me. Like, someone has to make the joke. Come on. But I think I'd already established myself as everyone like was mad, but they're all like, "Oh, classic Eric." I'd already established myself as that guy. So that was great. Awesome. All right, brother.
All right. Cool.
I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, same, bro.
Cool. All right.
All right.
And we're